Good morning, everyone, and welcome. Thank you for joining us for our first ever live webinar. We expect this to last approximately 30 minutes, and we'll dedicate the last 10 minutes to answering any of your questions. My name is Stephen Robinson. I'm the IT account manager for Impact Computing, and I'll be your host today. I'm also joined by Gavin. If you'd like to introduce yourself, please.
Hello everyone, my name's Gavin Stone. I'm the Technology Director for Impact Computing, and I'm here today to assist Steve with questions and answers that you may have. So at any point during this, if you can publish any questions, we'll do our best to answer them throughout.
Thank you very much, Gavin. As Gavin's just said, we would encourage you to ask any questions throughout the webinar. If you have a question to raise, please use the Ask a Question button that you should be able to see at the right-hand side of your screen. If you can't currently see this, there's an icon in the top right corner of your screen with a question mark and a conversation bubble, and that should unhide the Q&A area. So these are uncertain times for business and indeed the world, and we've spent a lot of time focusing on how we can help you through this difficult period. With the vast majority of companies now working remotely, we have, it's never been more important to communicate with one another. In fact, one of the common themes in the feedback we have received from you is that communication could be fragmented and is more difficult compared to what it used to be when we all worked in the same building. And that brings us to today's session, and we hope that you find this useful. Some of you may already be using Microsoft Teams or a similar solution, whilst others of you may be completely new to the concept. For us, we've been using Microsoft Teams for some time now, but it's only been since the lockdown came into effect and our staff have started working remotely that we have actually been able to appreciate how powerful a tool this is to make remote or home working a far more easier and effective way to work. So I'll share with you the agenda. So we'll be giving you a brief walkthrough of Microsoft Teams, and then I'll share with you our top tips for more effective remote working. Now, this isn't a sales pitch. We simply want to help you through this difficult time, and these tips have come from the lessons that we've learned using Microsoft Teams whilst working remotely. The webinar has only been designed to give you a brief overview of the different functionalities in Teams, but if anybody would like a more in-depth demonstration, then I can follow up with you after today's webinar. Teams is simple to use, and I'll be doing my best to show you those features simply. However, if there is anything that concerns you about it, please don't worry. We are here to help you to do whatever it is you need or want to do in Teams. And if there is any areas that confuse you, I would encourage you to give me a call after the webinar, and my details will be shown on screen at the end of the presentation. So now I'm just going to share the Teams window with you. Bear with me one moment. There we go. So you should be able to see my Teams window now. So what is Teams? Teams is your portal for communication across your business. From within one app, you can message, video chat, video conference, share files, manage your calendar, and much more. You don't have to be tied to your computer to use Teams either. It's available as an app for phones and tablets. That includes Apple and Android devices. And you can also access it through an internet browser from wherever you are. And each of these options give a really good and immersive experience of Teams. I should explain that we're showing Teams on an example company here called Contoso, and this is provided by Microsoft for demonstration purposes. And we're using this rather than our own instance of Teams to avoid any potential and unwanted incidents whereby we share confidential or sensitive information. And for the purposes of this webinar, on this version of Teams, I'm logged in as someone called Megan, and Gavin is logged in as someone called Diego. And where possible, we'll try and show some interaction between these two people using Teams. So on the left-hand side, you have the different areas of Teams, and we'll briefly look through some of those. So we're in Teams. That seems a good place to start. And you can see on the left-hand side here, we've got a number of different teams. So we have business development, a launch team, and a company-wide team. That's the name of the company, Contoso here. And within each of those teams, we have a different number of channels. So we have under the launch team, general, design, and a go-to-market plan. You can also have private channels where membership is invitation only by the owner of that channel. So we've got event planning here, and we can see that's restricted because we have a lock icon there. And each of these channels has their own dedicated stream of information and chat. The key thing with Teams and channels is that these should be personalized for your business. So if I move on to the chat screen here, and this is where you can direct message with individual people or even groups of people. So we have here a chat between Megan and Diego. This is just between the two of them. So I'll send Diego a message. And you can see Diego's seen the message there, and Diego's also responded. And then we have a group chat here, which has been given the name Marketing Chat. And this is with Lynn and Diego. And also from any of these chat windows, you can initiate a video call or a voice call. Moving on, we have a calendar screen. And this is a fully functional integrated Outlook calendar. And from here, you can schedule meetings just as you would in Outlook. I should point out at this stage, this option is only available if your emails are hosted in the Microsoft 365 cloud. And finally, I'll give you a brief overview of the call screen. So it allows you to see the status of your colleagues, whether they be offline, available or busy. So you can see Diego is currently has a red status and is busy. You can also direct call colleagues by video or voice from here using the buttons on screen. And what I mean when I say call in this instance is to call your colleagues through Microsoft Teams. There is no telephony built in as standard, so this isn't for making external calls to clients, for example. However, this integration into telephony is something we are currently looking into, and we'll be keeping everybody up to date with that. You can also set up customized speed dials, and you can also view all the contacts from your Outlook address book. You can also see the history for call activity, and this also includes missed calls. And you also have a built-in voicemail feature where people can leave you voicemails should they wish. And Microsoft, using their AI technology, also provides you with a transcript of the voicemail. So that concludes the brief overview of Teams. Quite frankly, there is far more that I could show you. However, for today's session, we will leave that there for now.
Steve, we've had a few questions come in. If you don't mind, I'll just answer some of those if that's
fantastic,
okay.
Gavin. Thank you.
A question from Deborah, which was, if you are logged in remotely to a server and it opens in a different desktop, can you still hear Teams calling you in the background? And the answer to that is yes. Any sound that appears on the device that you're connecting remotely to a remote desktop server or a terminal server you'll still be able to hear that in the background. One thing that I know a couple of people have done is they'll have Teams installed on their terminal server or remote desktop, and they'll also have Teams on the device that they are connecting in to. So they can chat within the terminal server, but you can't use audio or video there. And if you want to do a meeting with audio or video, you can just minimize that and go back to the device where your webcam is or where your speakers are. Question from Anonymous, is this going to be available as a video on demand after the presentation? And the answer to that is yes, we will send this out to you, including a survey at the end, hoping to get your feedback. And included there will be a link to this full presentation. Another question from Anonymous, if people can make their own channels and teams, what's the best way of administering it centrally or allowing management to monitor it? When you have a channel, you have owners and members in that channel. Only the owners can add people into the channel, or that can be set how you need it. So the idea is that the channels are self-moderated by normally the managers or owners of those channels, and you can monitor that by seeing the members that are in the channel, and you can also restrict and lock that down if you need to. A question from Darius: can you restrict the channel if it's already been created? Yes, all the permissions on there can be changed after it's been created. That's all of them for now.
Thank you very much, Gavin, and thank you for your questions. Please do keep them coming. We want to be as helpful as possible in this session for you. So now I'd like to share with you our top 5 tips, with the hope that these will enhance your remote working experience. Now, the first tip is to make use of your Microsoft Teams status. And using your status lets you show your colleagues where you are virtually. As I said before, with us not being in the same office or the same building, it's far more difficult to see if people are immediately available or otherwise detained. So your standard status is available, and this shows people that you are free for calls. The busy status also ties into your Outlook calendar. So you can set this manually, or if you're in a meeting according to your Outlook diary, your status changes to busy automatically. You can use the be right back status to show that you'll be away from the computer for a few moments, or you can use appear away to show that you'll be away for longer. And when you lock your computer and move away from it, this actually sets the status to appear away automatically. And finally, the last status we have here is do not disturb. And what this does, it suppresses all the notifications and calls whilst it is active. So if you need to get your head down and get something done without distractions or interruptions, this is a great way to do so. And you can set a status message. So this can be used to provide extra details for why you are busy or unavailable. So for example, I might say that I'm in a webinar, and I might make that appear for an hour. You can also choose a custom time, and I can set this to show when people attempt to message me. So if Gavin were to send me a message, he'd get a notification that I'm currently unavailable due to being in a webinar. And that moves us quite nicely onto our second tip. So we've just looked at the statuses, and we can use those to act accordingly when attempting to contact colleagues. So it's always good practice to look at the status of the person you want to contact before taking a certain action. So we can refer back to the call screen, where we can see the status of a number of different colleagues. So for example, if I wanted to send a direct message to Gavin, but his status was showing as busy or away, it may be better to actually send him an email. Likewise, if I wanted to video call him, I might wait until Gavin's status becomes available again. To make this easier, what I can do and show you in Teams here is if I right click on Diego, and because I want to make contact with him, I can notify when available. So Diego's currently busy at the moment. If I click that, notify when available, and if Diego was to then make himself available,
I've done that on my side now.
and I should get a pop-up to say that Diego is available. It'll probably come up in time, so we'll move on, and you'll probably see that notification pop up as and when it changes on the system.
Yeah, sometimes that's not immediate. It can take a minute or two.
That's fine. Okay, we'll carry on, and hopefully you'll see that pop up in due course. So on to the third tip, and that's how to share files quickly and easily with your colleagues. This can be done in any chat or channel, and it's a better way to collaborate with people than emailing files back and forth. So in any messaging box, so we're already in the chat here, we'll use this one. You have the option to attach a file, and anyone in the chat or in the channel will have access to that file. They'll be able to view it, edit it, or save it to their local working environment. So I can attach a PowerPoint there for Diego. And you'll see there the pop-ups just come that Diego is now available. So I use this feature a lot to share information with groups of people. For example, I've shared documents with project teams that I'm involved with for peer review. What I can also do is mention them. So similar to that, if anybody's used Facebook or Twitter, you'll be familiar with the @mentions. And I can also the actually probably doesn't work there in the channel. I can @mention the entire channel. So especially for peer review, I can add the whole channel. So anybody who's a member of that channel will receive a notification that I've sent a message. So I would use that to say, go-to-market plan, here's my document, please can you review and feedback. There is far more that you can do with files functionality in Teams. However, this isn't included as part of the Teams trial license, but it is available as part of the wider Microsoft 365 portfolio. And this may be something that, once you've used Teams for a while, you'd want to look into further. So on to tip 4, and that's to use the customization features of Teams to personalize your channels. So in the case of the example company here, in their go-to-market plan channel, we've added a web page that's available to everybody in that channel to see and refer to. So this could be something that they are working on, need to refer to quickly and easily. So it can really help with collaboration, and there are far more things that you can add to the channel in terms of the tabs at the top, and you can see here, there's a whole ton of different options to choose from. And we tend to use this a lot at Impact Computing as well. So, for example, we have a lot of different departments and project teams set up in different teams and different channels, and these are customized. So in our company-wide channel, we have our company vision and customer feedback available as tabs for all of us to see.
We have a few questions, Steve, if I could take just a few minutes to
go
through some of them.
Yes, please, absolutely.
A question from Deborah is, why would someone show as unavailable? I know that came in just before you did your statuses. So if you have any further questions following that, Deborah, just feel free to send another one. But typically it's because they are not at a device that has Teams on it. That could include a mobile phone, a PC, doesn't matter. It knows when you are active on your mobile phone and it knows when you're active on your PC. So another question from Anonymous. Sorry, same question, but for people creating their own teams, is there a way of preventing people from just making their own Teams group to avoid confusion? Yes, that can be disabled completely, so people can't create their own channels, teams, groups, whatever you need. Question from Charlotte. How do we get calendar option when on Office 365 as not showing as an option either on RDS login? Charlotte, we will reach out to you after this and figure that out for you. And how do we show files or present to others when in a Teams meeting? So at the bottom when you are in a meeting, I'm not sure if you're going to be, if you can pull this up temporarily, Steve.
Yeah, I'll give it a go.
If you video chat Diego.
Hang on, sorry. Wrong person. There we go.
Okay, what you'll see there at the bottom of Steve's screen is that square with an arrow up on it. If you click onto that, you get the option of sharing out a particular window or even your entire desktop or even PowerPoint presentations, and that's how you share out one of those files. So you could either pull the file up on your desktop and load it like that, or you could load it in Word and load that individually. If you choose to do the window only, that will not display anything else that's on your desktop. So there's no need to worry about people seeing Outlook prompts or messages from Teams and stuff like that. So hopefully that answers that question for you, Charlotte. Question from Anonymous. You can only view 4 people at once during a video meeting. What's the easiest way of managing who you can see on a 30-person group call? Can you pin people that can always be seen? Yes, if you right click on an individual in a video chat, there's an option to pin them, but you can only work on 4. I know Microsoft are working, the feedback that you've given there is the most common feedback that they've had since people have been working from home, and they are working on getting more people into a video chat so you can display more than 4 people at once. I know that's something at Impact that we've lacked a little bit. I'd like to see more people, and Microsoft are working on that. Question from Jeremy. When I organize meetings in Outlook, I categorize them into business, personal. I haven't found out how to do this in Teams. I don't believe that there's a category built in by default, but one option that you could have, Jeremy, is to branch out channels based on what you're trying to do. That may work or it may not, but we'll reach out to you after this and discuss what you're trying to do and see if we can sort you out. And last question was from Anonymous. We've got a marketing chat. At what point would a channel be more suitable for this, and what are the key differences between chat and channels? I view more those group chats as, even if there's more than one person in them, just as temporary chats. If what you're doing is more permanent, like it's based on like the marketing department in general, or it's based on something that has a lot of back and forth with files, etc., and it is a team of people, then that's better into a channel. So those kind of group conversations are better suited just for a temporary chat base when you need to speak to more than one person, but not necessarily an entire channel. But that's as customizable as you need it to be. And that's all the published ones for now. I'll review some of the new ones that have come in, but that's it for now, Steve. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Gavin. So on to the final tip that we'd like to share with you today, and that's how to start meetings. The reason that's the tip is because it isn't always immediately obvious, but you can start meetings in a number of different ways. The first is to use the calendar option and use the Meet Now button to set up a meeting. You give that a subject and join now. So this starts a meeting immediately, and what you would then do is invite attendees to join. And as I invite Diego, that calls him immediately and invites him to join. So it's good for an ad hoc meeting with a number of different colleagues. The second way is going back to the calendar and scheduling a meeting, and this is very similar to what you would do in Outlook, and probably the most used way of setting up a meeting. So you schedule a meeting, add a subject, add body text, and add required attendees. You can also invite external people to this as well. So you would do that just by typing in their email address. There you go. And pressing send, what that does, it actually sends an Outlook invitation to those attendees. And in there, you have a link to join this actual Teams meeting. So we'll close that for now. And the final way, and we use this method on a daily basis to host our morning and evening company briefs. And this is within a channel. So if I were to press Meet Now here, and Meet Now. This again starts a meeting immediately. You can invite people if you want to, but this meeting appears in the channel and anybody within that channel can join that meeting freely. So that concludes the practical part of this session, and hopefully you've found that useful and maybe picked up a couple of tips along the way. We'll now move on to the Q&A session. Gavin, if you've got any more questions from our attendees.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you want to push in any more questions while I'm reading these out, please feel free to send whatever questions that you do have. Questioning from John: when sharing documents on Teams, can different people edit the document, or will there still be one person able to edit and the others have read-only access? Two people can edit at once. If you are just using the Teams for communication and collaboration via the channels and things like that, if you want to branch out into files, that's more of a wider discussion regarding Microsoft 365, because there's security concerns there and things that need to be set up as part of that. If any of you have that requirement and it's something you want to discuss with us, please do contact us and we'll be happy to walk you through what is capable there. But to answer that question, John, yes, both people can edit that at the same time. And could you show how to do scheduled recurring meetings in side channels and how this pops up for end users when the meeting is due to start? Steve, if you could share out the Teams again and just do a calendar meeting again.
Yeah, bear with me one moment. There we go. So into the calendar, Gavin, do you want to talk me through what your steps
yeah, just click into one of the slots just to do a new meeting. So this would be where you'd put your recurring meeting. And you can see the recurrence options where it says does not repeat at the moment. And yeah, so you can change how that recurs there. And you can also add a particular channel underneath if you need to do that. I believe, though I'm not 100% sure, that the way that shows in the channel is similar to the blue bar when you do a meet now within the channel. So that's how you'd set up a recurring meeting like that. We've had 2 new questions just come in. Is the only way to arrange a video call with external people is via the calendar? I'll publish that. That's a good question, Jeremy, and this is something I was actually looking at yesterday. One thing you can do, as long as the person is on Teams and your Teams has been set up to allow with external collaboration, you can go directly into a chat window. And could you pull this up just on your screen, Steve? Just go into a chat window. Sure. And we're looking to hit the so if you were to do I'm just looking for it on here. We're doing what we did yesterday, Steve, to pull in the external contact.
There we go. So we did one with you yesterday afternoon, Gavin, and you would. There we go. We can see we used it yesterday, but when you type the person's email address,
you'll get an option. I'm there already because we did this yesterday, but you'll get an option that says search external, and it will then search to see if that person is on Teams. Whether they are in your organization or not doesn't really matter. Once you've done that, you'll get a chat window open similar to how you were interfacing with people in your organization. So what Steve is doing here in the Contoso organization, he's just set up a message directly to himself. So that's in our Impact Computing Teams organization. So they're 2 separate companies, and from there he can do a video call or an audio call, or he can send chat messages like you do to internal people. And there's just going to publish that question there. When a meeting is started in a channel, does it ring those people, or do they need to be in the channel and see it? When you start a meeting directly in the channel, it doesn't ring them. But what we do at Impact is, if there are stragglers or people are missing, you can invite them directly in the meeting, and that will essentially ring them as if you were ringing them directly, and then pull them into the meeting. And that seems to be the best way to do it. I've seen if we've got any more questions here.
There we go. Just on the screen there, that's how it appears in a channel when there's a channel-wide meeting taking place.
And the last question I've got is, do they need to approve the request when you invite someone externally, or does the message go straight through? That'll depend on how the settings have been set up on both of the organizations, but if both are allowing external collaboration, then it should go straight through. I think that's the last question I've had here. If you have any questions after this, please contact us, and we'll do our best to answer anything that you've got. Our goal here is to give you the tools that you need to help you work collaboratively and remotely with your staff.
Absolutely. Thank you, Gavin, and thank you everybody for your questions. Hopefully we've answered those for you. So the last thing to say is thank you. Thank you for your time this morning. If you would like any further information on Microsoft Teams, please feel free to contact me after the webinar. My details are now on screen. Or for that matter, if you would like to discuss anything at all, please drop me an email or give me a call. I'm here to help you. And as we mentioned in our invitation email, you can take advantage of a 6 months trial of Teams, which we will set up for you free of charge to help your business communicate more effectively at this time. Once again, thank you, and make sure you keep an eye on our social media channels for future webinars and other helpful video content coming soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.